Over the past decade, I've personally started and tested 26 different businesses. And out of those, 8 successes have risen to the top. Just 8. That's why in this video, I want to share with you the lessons that I learned across all of those dozens of failed businesses, as well as the things that have actually worked and led to businesses like this one that has done over $1.4 million in the past 30 days through print on demand. So here they are, the 8 decisions that I would rewind if I could, and you can take these and apply them starting today. So decision number one was picking the niche. Whenever I got into a niche, I chose one that I essentially had no connection with, and I just chased what I thought would be popular. For example, I started a teacher's jewelry store. Then I started a cat store. And neither one of them were things that I was particularly attracted to or had like any real connection with, opposed to the brands that ended up working the best were the ones that I knew myself, where I could connect and like light lit up talking about it without having to expend any additional effort. So if you are somebody who is in the throes of choosing your niche right now and you're like between one or the other, just on a whim, the next one that pops into your mind, whatever lights you up to think about it, that is your niche. And yes, you're going to have concerns of like, are there other people like me who, find it entertaining, or am I just alone? Like everybody has those thoughts. Just put that to the side and just trust me on this. You want to go forward with the one that you yourself are most passionate about. Decision number two that I made a mistake on was when it came to designing the products. I designed what I thought looked cool. And I was aiming for building these like Nike style stores because I had in my mind that the what a brand is just like a Nike or a Lululemon or like those big department stores for whatever reason. And I essentially watched older customers who were my primary demographic, like who buy online. Like at the time I was like 18, 20. So like everybody was older from my point of view. But they were going through and they were just getting confused. They were struggling to find anything. And eventually we just ripped it down and simplified the entire process. And so what I do today is realize that volume beats polish. And a perfect example of this is the pottery example of a professor who split up his class at the beginning of the semester into two halves. And he said, group number one, your job is to create the perfect jar, the best jar that anybody's ever laid their eyes on. And then group number two, your job is to create just as many jars as possible. And what do you know? At the end of the semester, lo and behold, they came back together, and the group that had been tasked with making the most not only obviously had a mountain of them to show, but they also had the best one. And so what I learned from this is that basically quantity begets quality. By trying to make the perfect thing right out of the gate, one, I was making it an undoable task for my customers to find anything they actually enjoyed. There wasn't a large enough catalog, but I was actually hamstringing my path to getting to that first really high quality design that actually would sell. Step three is investing before validating. And I had done this program for starting an Amazon FBA company. And this was my first big foray into starting a business. It was called Adventure in a Box. You can steal it if you want, hyphenated. But I basically bought a $5,000 course before having validated anything for myself. I hadn't gone through any like YouTube videos or anything. I just thought that step one was buying a course. And I bought into the idea that you have to spend money to make money right away, which is completely backwards. Yes, there is a time and a place where when you see an ROI, you can invest dollars to get dollars back. Sure. But do not get caught up in that. Like what I would do differently today is specifically applying this to print on demand is know that you do not need to buy an expensive course. Like our entire course is online for free. Yes, we have a community if you want to get extra coaching and that sort of thing. But even there, I recommend everybody get started with the free course and get a feel for this to see if this is like really for you before you have to spend even a dime. And what I mean really for you, it's like, do you enjoy doing this? Could you see yourself doing this? Or are you just going to get tired or bored of it? And then decision number four that I learned is like when to kill a design versus when to push, like when to kill an idea. So like, for example, we had a brand called Family Jewelry that after just one Mother's Day that where things did not go our way, we killed it. And then another one that we had that really, grinds my gears now, thinking back in advance in hindsight, we had a brand called Stay at Home Fitness. And this brand we started 2 years prior to COVID happening. And this it ties in with just shiny object syndrome, and I was just all over the place. But if I had stuck with that brand, who knows where it would be at today? But the difference is applying this to print on demand, you don't want to kill the brand. You do not need to kill the brand. You want to iterate quickly on the design, but keep the overarching premise. So if you are somebody who is starting your brand right now and you have maybe 50 or 100 products and some of them are showing good signs, there's always going to be that sinking suspicion at the back of your head saying, like, oh, maybe it's the niche. Maybe I need to pivot. I need to change my audience. No, you don't. No, you do not. Your audience is big enough. They are passionate enough. You might be getting burnt out on it, but just label that as exactly what it is. You're getting bored. But that is not something to do with the niche specifically. More than likely, you were just getting burnt out on putting in a extra amount of effort for an extended period of time. And that's just human nature. But label the things properly. Do not just kill what could have been a good opportunity. And just think of the classic diamond infographic of the guy who's like right on the other side. Too many opportunities I killed just like right before things were about to get good. Decision number 5 was complexity versus simplicity. And what I mean for this is that Yoga Stay worked. This is our yoga print on demand brand. We grew it to $3.5 million in sales, and it worked extremely well as a simple print on demand store. But then, as soon as we reached a certain level, and I essentially got bored with it as it was, I got it in my mind that we needed yoga mats and yoga pants in order for it to scale further based on nothing. Everything was working. And what I completely imagined into reality was that, oh, by adding these other products, people will buy more. And then that's us building a brand because now they have more things they can buy from us. It was just about to add a world of complexity that I was woefully inequipped for. Opposed to now, we have basically a one shirt rule. We sell the Gildan 64,000. We use a free theme. You can go to buildmypod.ai and we'll build your store for you completely for free. Then we add 1 or maybe 2 apps max. Like, simplicity is beautiful. Simplicity is really the key, and it's way easier said than done to hold on to this, but that is the thing you need to hold on to the longest in your business. And until you see a verifiable external reason that the business cannot grow beyond the current amount or current size until you change something, do not change anything. You do not need to expand. You do not need to add the kid sizes because people are asking. You do not need to pivot and add mugs and phone cases and all this other crap because you were just getting bored. There are no verifiable signs. If sales are dipping, more than likely you have just taken your foot off the gas and you have stopped publishing designs and giving the business what it needs to continue to grow. And then you try to label it instead as, oh, this thing is happening. Therefore, I need to change everything. I need to overcomplicate it. I need to pivot. Or back to the earlier point, I need to shut it down entirely and start something new. And decision 6 was where to build. When I first started, I thought that the 3 of these were basically interchangeable. It's like Amazon or Etsy or Shopify. You basically just pick one and like then that's your business. And no, the implications of this are dramatic. Amazon and Etsy marketplaces, you do not own the underlying asset. You own a cash flow mechanism, which can be obviously beneficial. When you do not own the customer data, that is a massive decision and a massive risk that you are imposing upon your business. And when I was early on and naive, and like most of the businesses I started, we went like the Amazon route, or we spent some time on Etsy before, very fortunately, we got started on Shopify. And now I will only build a business when I know end to end, I am owning the relationship with the customer. I do not want there to be any variables, any confounding things, any little asterisk marks in the funnel that are outside my control and have the potential to completely tank my entire business. And I think, especially as beginners, it's so easy to overlook those things. And just because our minds are racing and just heads are spinning, like there's so much to keep track of. This is just one of those decisions. I'm just going to just move on, just keep going to the next. It's like, no, this one really matters. That decision is something you're going to be living with for years and decades to come. So choose wisely. Then decision number 7 was revenue versus profit, and realizing that whenever I have the choice, I have to be choosing profit over revenue. Like, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. And what I did is when we launched a socks brand, it took off right out of the gate. Within the first week of launching, did $750,000 in sales. And Meg and I, my now wife, we were actually on vacation in Mexico. And I just remember being by the pool and thinking that I was all that in a bag of chips, hitting like multiple $100,000 days while I'm sitting there like taking tequila shots by the pool. I'm like, this is awesome. And it felt like we had made it, only to realize later that we were in for a world of hurt because we ended up bleeding hundreds of thousands of dollars in refunds, and it almost bankrupted the business because we were not prepared and because we were just prioritizing revenue over profitability. What I realize now today is that profitability is a choice. And so what I do now as a non-negotiable, as each one of these has become an operating a business, is I track the P&L daily. And specifically within print on demand, there's 4 main levers that determine whether you are profitable or not. And in all honesty, it comes down to these 4 in any business, but it's your cost of getting traffic, how many people buy, how much they buy, then how much it costs you to fulfill. So that's your cost per click, conversion rate, average order value, then your cost of goods sold. So know these like the back of your hand or pay the cost. Then decision number 8, the one that took me by far the longest was in the beginning, I made the decision to spend almost all of my time exclusively on the ads because I love the marketing aspect. And what I ended up learning the long and hard way is great products can be sold by bad ads, but bad products cannot be sold by great ads. I'm going to say that again. Great products can be sold by bad ads, but bad products cannot be sold by great ads. Meaning, the 80% of my time that I was putting into the marketing to getting the word out there, if I just flip that script and I put 80% of the time into making something that is so amazing that once the word gets out, it spreads like wildfire, that is a business really worth owning. And so applying all of these together, these were the lessons that now when I start businesses like, the 0 to 7 figure store or with History Tees and then now on Sloth Hiking Club, all of these things that we're now working on, they all apply them. Each one of these lessons up here, we pretty much did the exact opposite. So I hope you enjoy this. If you do, comment down below. Let me know what questions or info you want to see in future videos. And if you want to learn more about starting a print-on-demand business and way more than just these 8 decisions, click the link down below to go over to the completely free 12-hour course. It's over on our YouTube channel to get started today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.